First, I'd like to seek your cooperation in completing the seminar. Kindly mute your both audio and video to avoid interruption. You have the opportunity to submit your question to today's presenter by typing your questions in the chat box. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect the same and address at the end of the presentation. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for today on behalf of Triple AD. I'm architect Subhashri Vaidyanathan, welcoming you all for this seminar. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. We hope you learn a lot today. Before we begin with the session formally, there's a small video we would like to play. Now we request architect Siddharth to play the video. start, sir. Before we begin with the presentation, a small introduction about the presenter. Architect Surya Prakash is the founder of SP Square Sustainable Design Solutions, a firm that has been established to do a small part in reducing carbon and greenhouse gas emissions by proper designing, simulations, and further understanding the building's performance. He completed his post-graduation from School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada, in Sustainable Architecture and has worked in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu since then. He is now currently working as an assistant professor in Rajalakshmi School of Architecture, Chennai, and also running his firm parallelly. His strength lies in learning and understanding sustainable standards, which involve new rating systems, building performance in terms of energy modeling and simulations. He is always willing to contribute more towards this irreplaceable environment and an approach for the sustainable lifestyle. Without a further ado, I would like to welcome the presenter to deliver the presentation. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Architect Subhashree, for your kind welcome. I will switch off my cam because I have some internet issues here. Hope that's okay. Uh, so, good morning to all. Today's presentation is about green buildings and its design approach and its concepts. But before going to that subject, I want to discuss why we should discuss and learn about these green buildings. Because unless until why can't we just go on with our conventional building practices? Because if we don't understand the problem, we can't connect with the solution. So for the first few slides, we will discuss why green buildings is important, or why we should change our existing building design practices. Okay. So the first point would be, of course, the ecological impact of the building is huge. Okay, we all have to agree to that, because building leads to these problems. Okay, so we have this flood. If normal rain also is pouring, the cities are getting flooded like this. Okay, we all know Chennai and Mumbai. Every time rainy season, those cities are facing these problems. Okay, and then buildings is leading to air and water pollution, and then it is leading to this deforestation and loss of biodiversity, and it's freaking lots and lots of construction and demolition waste. Okay, almost 250 billion of tons of waste is generated by buildings every year. Okay, so and then the buildings is consuming almost 20% of all water consumption in the world. Okay, and 25 to 40% of all energy use, and 30 to 40% of greenhouse gas emissions, and 30 to 40% of solid waste generation. These are consumed by the buildings and for the buildings. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so then if you see the construction impacts, then the materials like steel, cement, glass, those are leaving huge ecological damage because of this mining, and then the energy used to extract and manufacture those materials, and then the carbon emission also is very high for those materials. Okay, and then comes the transportation. Nowadays using these imported materials and materials from far away is very easy, and very easy because we having transportation in our hand. So we are not thinking about the problems that is living. We are simply importing materials, and we are taking materials from Chennai. They are getting these marbles and steel from North India, Rajasthan, which is covering easily 1,500 2,000 kilometers. Okay, that is leading in fossil fuel consumption, and then again in emissions. Okay, and then this construction impacts has a huge impact on ecology. Okay, it is leading to deforestation, and then it is disturbing these natural water cycles and stuff. And then not only while during the construction we have impacts, while the operation of the building also we have huge impacts. For example, to run the to operate the building, we need energy. Without energy, we can't do anything. But nowadays, the buildings are consuming so much of energies, which is like uh, which is resulting in climate change, and then that is resulting in global warming and stuff. Okay, and then we are consuming so much water we are using so much water for operating this building, and then that is leading to that is leading a stress on the uh, existing freshwater sources, and then we are wreaking so much of pollutions on both land and water. So these construction impacts, it's like karma. Okay, as we all know, karma is a boomerang. So whatever we put now, it's going to come back to us. We are using so all these fancy products and stuff that is going to come back to us in terms of climate change or global warming in one way or another. Okay, so uh, next thing would be uh, yeah. In India, the residential buildings electricity consumption is almost 24%. Okay, and then the commercial buildings is consuming almost 9%. And then in industry, out of this 40%, 10% is being used for the comfortness of the people, and then 30% is used for the missionaries. So if you see, invariably 43 to 45% of electricity is consumed by the buildings, which is large. Okay. So why we have to think what will happen if you are not thinking about this? It will just increase this 45%. Next year, if you see, it will come to 50 or 60%, which is not good because we are depending on this finite sources. Okay, we are making the electricity from the finite sources. Okay, so we are using the infinite sources as though if it is infinite. See, if the coal resource, it is left only for 70 years in India. All around the world, it is left for almost 200 years. Oil is left for only 10 years. Gas is left for only 20 years in India. But we are using those that as though it is infinite. It is going to be here for another 500 or 1,000 years. Okay, which is not a good sign of managing. Okay, so we need a change. We need a change, or we need to think differently, or we need to use it properly to make it sustain longer than this period. Okay, because every year is just decreasing. Last year's statistics shows that it's left for another 75 to 80 years, but this year it's showing it's left for only 70 years, and next year it will show it is there for only 60 years. Okay, so this overconsumption of resources, it's directly or indirectly has its effects on climate change. Okay, so we all know what is climate change, and what are the effects we are facing on that, because every because this extraction of this fossil these resources will lead in global warming and climate change. Okay, so every year, if you see the statistics, there are out of the deaths happening, 5% is happening due to this weather-related mortality, because people are dying due to extreme heat or extreme cold or rain. Stuff's happening even in India. If you see in Delhi, due to this in the month of December, if you will see in the news, 50 people died due to extreme cold like that. Okay, and then we have this air related due to air related respiratory issues due to this over pollution, smog and all. If you see in Delhi last year, so much people have died because of that also. Okay, and then we have the effect on agriculture also due to climate change, because due to this climate change, over heat or over rain, unexpected rain, the crops are getting damaged. We are not making enough yield, and then we are not having problems to irrigate the fields also, because of this water scarcity and stuff. And then water resources. So we all know the scenario in Cape Town. That is the first city in the world to run out of water. There is no ounce of water also is there left in that city. And then many cities, many urban metropolitan cities in India, that is that is named as water stressed cities. That means like we all know the existing scenario, like we have to go 1,000 feet, we have to dig a 4,000 feet borewell to get water. Okay, which is not, but 10 years back, if you see the same place, only 200 feet if you dug, you can find water. Okay, which is not a good indication. Okay, and then the beach is getting eroded, and this climate change is leading to this loss of habitat, and then species, then biodiversity also is getting affected. Right now, there are 1 million species are in line of in the verge of extinction. Okay, 10 years back is not like that. The last decade, we are seeing this much of changes. Okay. Uh, so why we are facing all these problems? Because we are not understanding the concept here. Uh, for example, Earth has abundant of resources. Okay, but just because there is the resource is abundant, it's not like we can consume everything at a single point of time. Okay, Earth has abundant of resources, but it is allotting a certain amount to us for every year. For example, this year, Earth is allotting us 100 tons of resources to use. Okay, that is for the whole year, whole 12 months. But what we are doing, we are finishing it in some 6 months or 7 months, and we are overusing it. Instead of using 100 tons, we are using 200 tons or 150 tons of resources. Okay, we are taking resource from the next year's allocation and using it this year itself. Okay, that we are stressing the earth. Okay, for example, see here in the year 2018 or 19, here if you see those 100 tons, we finished it in the month of July itself. Okay, this green thing is allotted resources. Okay, allotted resources, we finished it in the month of July itself. This red thing indicates that we used these resources from the next year's next year's production. Okay, Earth has given us 1 year 100 ton resources. While we are using it, it will regenerate next 100 tons for the next year's production. But we are not giving the Earth to regenerate. We are keep on using it. We are finishing our allotted resources here, the July month itself, and without giving it time to regenerate, we are using it next 100 tons from the next year 100 tons. Also, we are using it this year itself. Okay, so we are stressing the earth. Okay, we are using the earth resources as though the earth is 1.5 times bigger in size, bigger than its size, what is bigger than from its actual size. Okay, this is because of the modern living has made us rapidly deplete the earth's resources. Okay, one scientist coined this as stealing from our grandchildren. Okay, yeah. So if you see the building's growth projection, it is going to increase only. For example, 2005, if you see, from 2005 to 2030, the projection scenario is like the residential buildings is going to increase 5 times. Okay, and yeah, 5 times, and then the commercial building is see if you see it's increasing 8 times, and then the hospitality buildings is going to increase 10 times, and the retail buildings is going to increase 9 times. Okay, so it's going to increase only in the future. So we have to it's saying we have to change our perspectives, or we have to change our way of thinking and way of using the way of seeing the buildings. Okay. Uh, so if you ask me, uh, all the traditional and old buildings, we can say it as green buildings, because they given proper thought proper thought for this natural ventilation, for both light and ventilation. They gave proper thought process behind it. The main focus was this: the building should be naturally ventilated and lit. Okay, they don't want to depend on the thermal comfort of these buildings is solely dependent on the natural ventilation. Okay, and these are the houses that is in Karaikudi region. That is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, we all all the houses in that region will have this central huge courtyard, which is built for social purpose. Also, they will have some gatherings here, and mainly for this stack effect and natural ventilation and lighting. Okay, this is Jaipur Hawa Mahal Palace, and this is Mysore Palace. Okay, so One more thing, we can, if you see in these traditional buildings, you can easily identify the buildings from identify the region of the buildings from looking at the buildings. Okay, they design these buildings in a climate responsive way. Okay, so you can easily say, okay, this building is from north, this building is from east, this building is from south. Okay, but in today's context, we can't say like that. We can't locate the building by looking at the building. Okay, everything will look like this. Okay, there is a huge, everywhere will be glass, and then it is high rise and stuff. I'm not saying it is wrong, but using building like this without having a clear cut thought process, that would be wrong. Okay, these are the commercial buildings only in Gurgaon region. Okay, and I have collected, I have used buildings from Karnataka region only for your better understanding. This is the building from building of KLE University, Technology University in Hubli. Okay, so if you see this institute building, I can say, okay, they gave some thought process behind it. This building is built in a passive way. Okay, because the natural ventilation, it will have some natural ventilation. Huge high ceilings are used. It has good windows. Okay, to promote natural ventilation. But those in that university itself, they started expanding recently, but that building is not having the same design features which they used earlier. Okay, in the same campus itself, the older buildings are built in such a way, but the new buildings are being built in completely different way. It's contradicting the earlier buildings being built. Okay, here you see the natural ventilation is being reduced. Okay, the glass facades is more. Okay, and here you see this is the next building they constructed. The glass facade area is being increased, and materials also we can see that they used some modern materials. Okay, this is another building they built. Here the glass facade is being increased and increased only. Okay, it's not getting decreased. I'm not saying glass is a wrong material. Glass is a very good material. It has so many good advantages, but given it is used correctly. Okay, here what is the problem? It has no shading at all. Okay, this glass is open. Okay, so this will absorb so much of heat, and that will result in resulting more cooling load, and then that will result in more energy consumption. Okay, I don't know why this same building they changed it like this in later stages. Like they also want to adopt some green methodologies. So they used some proper shading devices. They reduced the exposure of glass regions here. Okay. Yeah. Then not only institute buildings and commercial buildings, even industrial buildings, they want these kind of glass facades. Okay, because everyone want the building to look different. Okay, so the easier way for them to go for glass, because it has a good effect on the building. It can easily locate, and it will easily cover the eye of the people. Okay, but here it's completely they didn't have the good thought process, I will say, because this one region. I think someone. Subhashri, could you check?
Yeah, sir. Just a second, sir. Just a second, sir. I'm looking in.
Thank you. So this one piece of one part of facade is creating greenhouse gas emission, I would say. Okay, because see, This front entrance glass, at least I would say that is okay because it has shade. But here there is no shade. You can see the sun hitting the glass directly. Here also it's the same scenario. Okay, this is going to make the building heat. Okay, so to tally out the heat, the AC has to run longer. Okay, for the AC to run longer, the energy must be consumed more. Okay, so this is the basic math here. So the point would be glass is a good material given it is used correctly. Okay, so these all three are Infosys building. Okay, it's around Karnataka only. So Infosys, I have to say, Infosys is a green. We can call them as a green leaders. Okay, so they are all their offices is built green. Okay, they are all their offices they built green only, and they adopted those methodologies in every one of their offices. Okay, so even their first building is built like this. Okay, it is nothing but glass. Okay, it's like living in a glass box. Okay, this is not at all a good design. It's a poorly designed building. Okay, but then these buildings are constructed later in later stages, these two buildings. So then they also had this transformation in reverse manner. Okay, they thought they built this that is completely become wrong. So then they changed their practices and built something like this, which has less these both buildings as glass, but it comparatively it has less glasses and it is used properly with proper shading devices and proper orientation. Okay, this is Mysore Infosys. This is Hubli Infosys, and this is a Hubli High Court building. So this building is you can see it's built in a passive design way. Okay, so we have large windows for natural ventilation, and then those windows has proper shading, and then we have high ceiling which will help in stack effect. Okay, but one thing here, they used normal materials only, though it looks like red stone, red sandstone, but it's a normal brick only. They had this paint covered on this building. But I would suggest instead of we going to instead of making a lookalike, uh, if we adopt the concept correctly, it will have more results. This is a lookalike. Okay, this outside the red they made it lookalike. So instead of this red, if they go for a white color, I think it would have reflected more heat away, and it would have worked more. Okay. Uh, so if you see the residential buildings in the past, the difference between the residential building in the past and present. Uh, so the earlier one has less glazed area. Now we have more glazed area. It has proper shading. Now we don't have proper shading at all. It has more open space for natural ventilation. It promoted natural ventilation. Now we are not doing that, and the building is oriented properly. Okay, for example, the building being built in Chennai should have the elongated face of the building facing north and south. Okay, the shorter side should be facing east and west. But if the same building is going to be built in Shimla, a colder region, then those buildings in the past, it has climate responsive design, but here we are not following any climate responsive design strategies, because everything as we are building as though whole India has only one type of climate. Okay, and then if you see in those earlier buildings, the locally available materials were used a lot, but here we are using imported buildings for aesthetic purpose. And then if you see the operation strategies for those buildings, they relied on natural ventilation more for achieving this thermal comfort. But we are not relying at all natural ventilation. Even though we have a huge window in our bedroom, we are closing the windows for the dust purpose, and then we are covering it with a screen for privacy purpose. So we are not having light and ventilation. We are not doing justice for the window. Okay. And then in those earlier buildings, air conditioning system was not used, but here we are fully depending on that air conditioning system only. Even take any building, residential, commercial, institutional. Okay, air conditioning system is there. Even in Bangalore, if you see many buildings, Bangalore has a good moderate climate, but even there also many buildings will use are using air conditioning only, which is not needed at this point, but it became a part of our life. Okay, so why the if you see the reason behind this shift in design thinking, we can say rapid urbanization, and then improved lifestyle of people. The need became the want became the need. Earlier, the AC was a want, okay, but now it became a need of the people. Okay, it's like before building the house itself, they are thinking, okay, what AC I should buy for my house. And then the properties of the cost is increased because the land is becoming a costlier commodities nowadays. Uh, 1 square foot is costing around 20,000, 30,000 bucks. And then affordability of technologies, and then we are giving more importance to aesthetics. These five are the major reason behind this shift in design thinking. Okay, so all these has led to drastic increase in electricity consumption of the building. Okay, uh, which is creating a huge energy demand. Okay, that is the reason behind increase in electricity rate also. Okay, earlier, if you see nowadays, modern the middle class, normal middle class person salary is what it's around. It will be around 40,000 or something. Okay, so in that 10% is paying for electricity bill every month. So 4,000 minimum they are paying for electricity bill. Okay, which is not good. Okay, so uh, so by discussing all this, we can suggest, okay, green buildings can be the way forward. Okay, because 60% of India is yet to build. Okay, what we are and building contributes almost 30 to 60% of total electricity demand. Okay, as we see in the starting chart, and then the built-up area in India is going to double by year 2030. Okay, the projection scenario every year, in fact, to say every month it is changing. Okay, every month the square foot of the area is going to build up is changing. Okay, uh, so uh, uh, if you see, there is no need that we should build only traditional buildings. Don't take me wrong. Green building are not fully traditional. I'm not saying only traditional buildings are green buildings. Traditional buildings can be green building. Okay, and modern building also can be green building. Okay, so and in our current life scenario, we can't say like we can't go back to 1950s and adopt their strategies and built. Okay, it won't work. It won't work for our current scenario, for our current population and our current lifestyle. It can't work. We have to adopt. We can't live in the past itself. We have to go forward by adopting ourselves. But at the same time, we don't have to stop using our common sense, and we don't have to be reckless. Okay, so the good a good way would be using these hybrid buildings. Okay, where we can where we can fuse the modern and traditional concepts together, and design our buildings. Okay, this one building is Rani School. It's in Coimbatore. It's built by Shanmugam Associates. Okay, it has both modern materials, and it has adopted traditional concept also. It has jalis, and then it has proper shading, and it used white and light colors to stop observing the heat. Okay, and this is a yellow train school that is built by Biome Environmental Solutions by Chitra Vishwanath ma'am. Um, so this also has the same properties in that. Okay, so in every buildings you see they didn't do anything over. Okay, so they used the technologies and used the process wherever it is necessary. They adopted it there. In the rest places they didn't do it for aesthetic purpose, or they didn't simply do it because they can. Okay, uh, this is Titan head office. Okay, you see here the materials they used, everything here also they used glass, and the materials they used everything is modern only. They didn't simply stick to the traditional methodologies. But if you see the aerial view, they used a lot of greeneries, and they adopted some passive design features also to let the natural ventilation in. Okay, and this is Suzlon One Earth building. It's located in Pune. This also has the same. These are the bamboo screenings. Okay, to let the natural ventilation in. And this is ITC Grand Chola in Chennai. This is also a green rated building. Okay, and this one building is a head office for an firm called Design Alternatives in Delhi. And then yeah, here if you see, they used this materials, exposed brick wall they used, and then for shading they used windows like this to avoid direct sunlight hitting those buildings. And here you can see they gave much thought process for allowing the natural light inside, and they used proper shading devices to bring the microclimate for this place. And the shading can be interesting like this also, rather than the boring shading. It can be interesting. This is interesting, and this is also interesting. And here also this is somewhat looking. It is blending with the building design. So we can achieve our purpose using modern methodologies also. Okay, this is Sanjay Puri's architect building. Here, to catch the wind and to avoid the direct sunlight of that particular location, they designed it in such a way. Okay, and they used jalis here to reduce the hot air passing inside the building. To achieve the thermal comfort, they used it in such a way. Okay, so discussing all this, what is a green building? Okay, using traditional mud blocks alone will make a building green, or exposed brick wall should be compulsorily used, or there should be trees inside the building, or we should have to use lots and lots of greeneries in the building. Of course, using all this will make a building green, but it's not necessarily like it should be only like this. It should be only traditional. It's not like that. Okay, of course, maybe using all this will make a building definitely a green building, but not only this will make it green. Okay, the building can be modern and look like this and still be green. Okay, this is Hyderabad International Airport. This is the Olympia Tech Park building in Chennai, IT office in Chennai, and this is a bank building in Goa. Okay, these buildings are still green because though it's used glasses in its facade, where they used that matters a lot. Okay, for example, if you use these glasses in the northern facade of the building, it makes all the sense because in north side the radiation, the direct radiation is less. Okay, you don't have direct radiation, you have only indirect radiation. But using these glasses in east, west, and south wouldn't make much sense. Okay, it will just increase your cooling load of the building. Okay, this is Anna Library in Chennai. It's a multi-specialty hospital in Chennai. So you can see the building looks modern, but it's still green only. Okay, and then this is in Bangalore only. I forgot the place. Yeah. So here it still has this much of glazed areas here, but the window area is small, but it has proper shading. Okay, it won't increase the cooling load of the building. Okay, so to put it in a simpler way, green buildings is a building which is being built for the people, for the planet, and for the profit. Okay, for the people in the sense it has to make the people residing in the building healthier and happier, and then it should not cause so much damage to the planet. It should not cause environmental degradation to the planet. Okay, and it should bring profit to the society or to the people who wants it. Okay. So this sentence is I while reading I found this sentence. The world has enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. It's said by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, and this is said by another one person. The best green building is the one we never built. Okay, we can't. While building itself, definitely is going to there are going to be carbon emission. We are going to definitely use the resources. We are going to definitely emit something. Okay, through fossil fuels or something. Definitely something going to happen. But green building is best because it is consuming or it is emitting lesser way when compared to these conventional buildings. Okay, if you compare and see, green building is doing lot good. Okay, so what is a green building again? Green building will have better comfort and productivity. Okay, by giving good comfort, the people can work a lot. Okay, in office, imagine in office spaces which will have a good lighting and ventilation, the people can work a lot better, and it will bring productivity. And then it will the green building will have eco-friendly materials. Okay, see, another thing, eco-friendly is different from traditional. Okay, by meaning eco-friendly, I'm not saying it is traditional. Okay, traditional is different and eco-friendly is different. Eco-friendly uh, eco-friendly materials will have less impact on the environment. Okay, and then it will use less energy and water, and then it will produce less waste, and it will promote renewable energy. Renewable energy is like it will promote the usage of solar panels, and then taking energy from wind power. Okay, and it won't destroy the environment, it will protect the environment instead. Okay, so all these 5 points: energy efficiency, water efficiency, natural resource conservation, comfort and productivity, which is nothing but indoor environmental quality, and then environment and ecology. All these 5 together combined is called as green DNA. Okay, a green building is the one where it will have this green DNA, combination of all these 5 process, 5 things. This green DNA will have will be implied in all this process, construction process, from the site selection and management, design and engineering, construction material selection, construction process, operation and maintenance, renovation, demolition, and redevelopment. From the starting of the building to the building's end, this green DNA will be implied. All these 5 things will be implied in this process. This is called a green building. Okay. So why we have to change from why we have to choose green buildings? Okay, from the conventional building, normal building which we are building now, the operation cost. I mean, after the building being built and we are living in that building, so the operation, that is called operational cost. So that cost will be less than like it will be less from 10% to 20% than the normal buildings. Okay, and then the indoor environmental quality will be very good. The occupants will have better health. The employees will have good satisfaction. The productivity of the employees will be good. Occupants will be good. Okay, and it will have good thermal comfort and visual comfort than the normal conventional building. And then it will have it will have a responsibility to the environment. Okay, being a green building, it is consuming less energy and resources, so it is saving the environment in one way or another way. Okay, so when we comes to the cost of the green building, yeah, 10 years back, if you ask me, yeah, 10 years before, if you ask me, yeah, green buildings is going to it would be costing more only. But now if you see, it is like not more than 1 to we can properly design, we can construct in the same cost as a conventional building, but from 0 to not more than 5%, it would be different from the normal building. But even though if it is 5% more than the normal buildings in the maximum rare cases, but it will reduce your operational cost by 10%. Okay, so we are saving a lot. Okay, this 5% cost would be easily tallied by this 10% savings. Okay, so this 10% savings is going to keep on come back to you for the rest 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years, whatever the building's lifetime. Okay, so this is why green building is important, and this is how green building is bringing profit to us. One second. Okay, so we can say growing green now is a common sense. Okay, so what is the green building scenario in India? So there is 2 things. One is voluntary and market driven. That is like responsible citizens and builders, which are like being crazed for these green buildings. Okay, they are building the building in this passive design methodologies, and then climate responsive way. There are thousands of buildings which we have no data. Okay, they are building in one place or another place. If you don't know if I am building a passive building in Chennai, okay, unless until it has some data or some article or some record. Okay, so to do that, there are many bodies created in India, such as LEED, IGBC, Griha, EDGE. What are all these is? It's like a green certification bodies. Okay, these bodies, if you want to build a green building, you go to this body, and then they will give you the procedure. Okay, to how and then they are separate persons. They will come to you, and then you can discuss together, and then they will build the building. And these are some categories. LEED means there's platinum, gold, silver, like that. So based on your building's performance and your building's uh, your building, how you build the building, they will give you the they will rate you the category of the building. They will certify you. For example, if you achieve 100 points, they will say, okay, this is LEED platinum building, this is IGBC platinum building, like that. Okay, I will tell about the green rating in the later slide. Okay, then what are the drivers is, it's like we have this eco responsibility, and then we can reduce this operational cost. So these are this, we have this brand image if you certified, and then we can have this what to say, uh, marketing advantage. We can be advantage. We can say that our building is a green building, so it will give us a brand image and marketing advantage. Okay, if it is a commercial building or institutional building. So of all these reasons, the number of green buildings is increasing. Another one is regulatory and policy driven. The central government has made this rule. Every central government building should have this Griha rating. Okay, and then some state has these incentives given to the builders. If it is a green building, you can have relaxation in the floor area ratio, and you can have deduction in the property tax, water tax, like that. Okay, and then for commercial in Andhra Pradesh and many states, ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Code, is mandatory. They should build the building. They should build a building based on the norms given in this ECBC. Okay, and then now they are making this Econivas Samhita for residential building also. From 4 house to 500 house, if you are going to build, you have to follow this Econivas Samhita. Otherwise, you won't get approval. Okay, so these are the green certification bodies I told. USGBC, United States Green Building Council. It created and maintaining this body called LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Okay, so this LEED will come and judge and rate your building. Okay, so after rating, after there's some process and methodologies to follow. So at the end, your building will be rated and certified. Okay, and then in India we have this Indian Green Building Council. It's the most popular rating system in India. And then we have Griha, green rating for integrated habitat assessment. And then we have EDGE, and then 2 or 3 more rating system is coming in India. So if you see 10-20 years back, only IGBC and Griha we had. Now we have EDGE, WELL, and then FitWell, GEM. So in 10 years, 4 or 5 new rating systems came, and in the next 10 years, if you see, another 4 or 5 will become. So this is implying the importance of green building and its growth scenario in India. Okay, and some popular myths about green building is it involves high cost. So as I discussed earlier, it does not involve high cost, and not like only large buildings can be large projects can be green buildings. No, from a small residence to a big industry or big township can be a green building. And then it is difficult to implement in terms of materials, methods, and workers. No, we can implement all those using these modern technologies, and it's like we must use natural materials only. No, not at all. We should use eco-friendly materials. Okay. So how to build green? So first, an important thing is like integrated design process. We should have integrated design process, because earlier what will what will happen, like architects will do a planning and design, then it will go to the civil and structural engineers. They will change the columns, so they will put the columns and then they will change the design a little, and then they will start constructing it. After the building is being constructed in the half only, the MEP, mechanical, electrical and plumbing, the AC, electrical and plumbing depths, people will come and give their suggestions. So then again the design will change a little. So it will consume a lot of time, effort and money and resource. So to avoid this, starting itself, the project team should sit together with the client, architects, civil engineers, MEP consultants, green expert, and then the client. All five should sit together, and everyone's data and requisites should be thrown in the pool, and then they should design the start itself. So this will save a lot of energy and a lot of time. Okay, a lot of money. So this is called as integrated design charrette. Okay, so all these people will sit together and design in the early phase itself. So which will save a lot of effort. In the conceptual stage itself, they should sit and discuss rather than after being built in the middle of the construction phase discussing. In the starting itself, we should discuss. And then, yeah. So how to build green? We have to have careful site selection and site planning, and then optimized building shape and orientation should be there. Passive architectural features should be there, and then green construction methods we have to follow. On materials, we have to go green, and then we have to start using this recycling this water and waste in an efficient manner, and then we have to promote renewable energies. Okay. When you come to the sustainable location, for some sites we will have the site selected already by the client, but for some site the client itself will come and ask us to select the suitable location for their project. Okay, so for those sites we have to select we have to follow these criteria. We have to locate the site closest to the workforce residential areas, and then the site should be like near to this common utility infrastructure like roads, water, sewage treatment plant, and electricity power should be nearer, and then it should have easy access to the public transport and reduce travel cost. Okay, and it can be little outskirts to the outskirts from the main area to reduce traffic congestion. It should have all amenities and shopping near to it. Because imagine if you're living in a house where the grocery shop is located 5 or 10 kilometers away from your house, you have to travel every day 10 kilometers up and down. Okay, that will result in carbon emissions. Okay, which is not good for our current scenario. Okay, just by following these points, we are reducing carbon emissions. Okay, and then we have to think about this building footprint, because at our current scenario we can't because our population is so high. Okay, so everyone needs to fit in a place. So now the horizontal development won't make much sense. Okay, so by going vertical we are saving so much land. Okay, so in that we can add more greeneries, and we can conserve and save water. Okay, and we can save land, which is getting costlier day by day. Okay, so that is one thing, reducing building footprint, and then we have to reduce internal roads. Okay, and then for parking also we can go for basement parking instead of giving a side parking. Okay, so by all these by using all these we can do proper building footprint, and then we can do proper green master planning. Okay, and then building envelope. If you see, the building is these are the things that is contributing to the building's heat gain. Okay, so through convection from the windows and walls and roofs, the heat is getting transferred, and then the office equipment, and then the person who is living in the room, and then from the light, there are so much of factors, that is contribution to the building envelope, which is allowing the heat inside. So because of this only, if this envelope is not designed properly, then you are going to allow a lot of heat inside, which is going to impact your cooling load. Okay. So if you see, from the roof, 10 to 20% of heat is coming. Walls 10 to 20%, but from the glazing alone, 20 to 30% is coming. That's why I am saying glass is a good material. But if imagine if you are not designing the glass properly, you are simply allowing 30% of heat to transfer inside your building. Okay, this internal load we can't do much because we have to complete the function of the building. But this rest all we can uh, we rest all we can think on, we can follow through. Okay. So next is optimize plan and form. So based on the location and based on the climate, we have to derive our form. Okay, we can't do simply simply we like it. Okay, so if you see this L form, we will have a good daylighting. Okay, and it will have good cross ventilation also. The form itself is doing this thing, nothing we are doing. Okay, and this H form will have due to this negative pressure here, it will also promote cross ventilation, and it will also promote good lighting, because these are not deep space offices. Deep space means like it has the longer length but lesser wide. So this type of buildings will have good lighting and good ventilation. Okay. And as usual, courtyard from the earlier period till now, courtyard is always a good design, good strategy to bring proper light and ventilation. Okay. And then orientation is important. I said that earlier itself. Based on the climate, your orientation will change. By simply changing the orientation by 10 to 15 degrees, you can save 3 or 4 degrees heat entering your building. Okay, so that is a huge thing. It will have a huge reflection on your cooling load and energy consumption. Then there are a lot of simulation tools here, which you can see, which you can use it to understand the building performance. Like you can check your building's lighting quality, how much light is entering your building, how much heat is entering your building, how much wind is coming from through your window, and then what is the shadow that is being cast by your building. For example, if you have a 15-story building next to 15-story apartment next to your building, you have to think, okay, how that building shadow is going to come on my side, how I should design my building, everything you can see. Okay, if someone is interested in these simulation tools, you can ask your Professor Siddharth. He knows how to guide you. And then this is a wind flow chart, we will say, wind rose diagram. Okay, so why we have to check this is, before designing actually we have to check this, because by seeing this we can understand the wind flow. Okay, wind flow of the building. For example, this chart shows that from this side, from west side, if you see the legend here, the west side, more wind is coming. So while designing, you can keep in mind that okay, larger windows can be kept on west side to allow the air inside my building. Okay, and you can see this south side, no wind is coming much, so you can reduce the size of the window here. So by analyzing these kind of charts, you can alter your design, which will increase your building's performance, and that will lead to less energy consumption. Okay, this is another software. This is done in Ecotect. Okay, and this also done in tool called Autodesk Ecotect, and this is done in flow design, Autodesk flow design. Here it is showing that. One second. Here it's showing that what is the wind velocity, and how the wind is flowing through your side, and then through the building design, how the wind is getting diverted. Okay, and yeah, The passive design, we can follow and adopt passive design to reduce heat gain. Okay. Passive design is nothing but proper orientation to get to avoid heat gain, and then to make the wind enter your building, and then to have proper microclimate in your site, and then window to wall ratio. That is another important strategy we have to follow, because the more window to wall ratio you have, the more heat is going to come. So properly and systematically you have to think and design it. And then, as I said, high length to width ratio will have better cross ventilation. And then to windows, if you have this wall projection and balconies to shade those windows, then the heat entering through the window will be less. And then if you see from this east side and all, they have this staircases and toilets. If you locate those spaces there, then then you can avoid overheating your building. And then this is to like every spaces, and then mostly in residential spaces and all, it is very difficult to achieve daylighting in all the spaces, but through careful designing we can achieve that by giving taller windows, and then by selecting appropriate glass for the windows, you can achieve maximum daylighting in your buildings. And then here if you see, for this building the window to wall ratio is 100%, because everywhere is glass only. But here if you see, it will come around 60%, and here if you see, it come around 70%. Okay. And then shading also is another important thing. It's an old building, and it has this vertical fins as shading devices to avoid direct sunlight hitting your windows. Shading doesn't need to be like simple and boring like this. It can be designed like this also. Okay, like in modern way, you can design like this also. You can use these modern materials and modern technologies to cover your windows. And then louvers is always the best way to cover your windows. These are the vertical louvers, vertical fins or louvers, you can say. And you can do something like this also. This is done in Australia, Pixel building in Melbourne. Okay, they have this colorful sheets to cover their building to get shade. And then this is the next gen technology. It has this automatically moving shading devices based on the program given to it, and based on the sun's position we can change the